Chapter 231, Breaking the Sky Sword Saint 5. The merchant frowned as he looked towards the voice in the back. As expected, Yu Jonghyuk was standing there. My expression changed as I warned him, "Hey, don't go around talking like that." The destruction of the first Murim that Yu Jonghyuk mentioned was a scenario that hadn't happened yet. In the original novel, the tragedy would occur in a few more years. Of course, Yu Jonghyuk witnessed this in the last regression, and the future became the past for him. Don't waste unnecessary time. You know that people can't become stronger with that trash. I was just letting the group take a look. We aren't here to be tourists, have you forgotten? As he spoke, I managed to see something in Yu Jonghyuk's hand. It was a paper wrapped with a hot and sweet smell coming from it. Dumpling? Yu Jonghyuk ate the dumpling with an unapologetic face and continued talking. There are 3 hidden pieces that can be found in the first Murim at this time. The Annihilation Emperor's Martial Arts Book, the Black Demon Spirit's Black Demon Sword, and the Blood Demon School's Demon Spirit Bead. The merchant cut in after Yu Jonghyuk's words. Ha, the Annihilation Emperor's Martial Arts Book, and the Black Demon Spirit's Black Demon Sword. The Blood Demon School's Demon Spirit Bead. There is still someone searching for such things. Wake up, they are literally legends. They completely disappeared during the old days of Murim. Yu Jonghyuk didn't bat an eyelid despite the merchant's laughter. It was because Yu Jonghyuk knew they really existed. He even knew how to obtain a few of them. He shamelessly mentioned it in front of other people because he knew they wouldn't believe him anyway. I replied to his words. The Blood Demon School's Demon Spirit Bead has a low utility even if obtained. You might be able to absorb it, but if I or the other party members eat it incorrectly, Qigong deviation is likely to occur. Yu Jonghyuk made the expression that I wanted. On the other hand, the merchant's expression was embarrassed as he heard us calmly discussing legends. I continued talking. The Annihilation Emperor's Martial Arts Book is very difficult to obtain. You can get it, but you can't stay there for long. I see. Finally, the Black Demon Spirit's Black Demon Sword. Maybe you are trying to obtain it because your sword is broken, but have you forgotten that there is a weapon that is easier to obtain with a similar performance? Yu Jonghyuk's complexion changed at my words. He noticed what I was trying to say. Do you really intend to go there? Yes, this time, the power of the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint is essential. I'm not going. Do what you want. However, can you guide me to the school? Yu Jonghyuk made a grim expression, and the merchant interjected again. Are you going to find the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint? That's right. The merchant watched us with a slightly weary expression. Then he shook his head and withdrew his products. That's it. Give that to me. I won't sell them to you. Han Mungo, who was listening earnestly to the ice flower goddess, was embarrassed as the earphones were suddenly pulled out. The merchant smiled at Han Mungo. I'm surprised that there are still friends who want to stick to the old ways. It isn't too bad to feel the change of the times in person. Good luck with your hard work. The merchant spoke unknown words and dragged his stall to another place to solicit customers. I stared at the merchant's back for a moment. Han Mungo asked, "What the hell does that mean?" Department head, you said that you like Murim novels. Well, that's right. Then it'll be great. The person we are visiting now is the only one in Murim who adheres to the old training methods. I said this while chasing after Yu Jonghyuk walking ahead of me. Was it because he came to the first Murim after a long time? Yu Jonghyuk had a nostalgic look on his face as he looked at the surroundings with distant eyes. The streets gradually grew quiet. The buzzing of the marketplaces died away, and there was the faint smell of animal feces. How long did we walk? Yu Jonghyuk's footsteps finally stopped. It was in front of a shabby residence that couldn't be compared to those on the busy streets. There was a small hut in the center of the grounds. I read the small nameplate set up in front of the hut. Breaking the Sky Sword School. Recruiting disciples at all times. This was where the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint lived. It is up to here for me. Yu Jonghyuk spoke these words and climbed up a cherry tree nearby. He really didn't want to meet the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint. Han Myungo spoke in a suspicious tone, something so shabby. Originally Murim masters stay in shabby places, I replied. Jang Haeyoung asked with an expectant expression, is there someone here who gave me the martial arts technique? Come to think of it, Jang Haeyoung had received the Breaking the Sky Sword's immortal body through the wall. Someone had taught it to him, but I didn't know how it was possible. Even you, Jang-hyuk, had struggled to learn it. Breaking the Sky Sword Saint, are you here? I knocked on the door. Breaking the Sky Sword Saint, I need your help. There was no answer from the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint to my loud shouts. However, I couldn't go back just because there was no answer. I shouted brazenly and opened the door. I will take this as signal to enter. There was a creak as the door opened and revealed the interior. The interior of the residence was better than I thought. There weren't any signs of a person living there. Instead, an unexpected existence was waiting for us. Jang Haeyoung cried out happily, "Oh, there is a dog." A dog was lying on the floor and staring at us. It was a medium-sized dog dressed in a dark blue uniform with its tongue stretched out. Han Myungo nervously stuck to my side. Is that the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint? No. I gazed at the panting dog and recalled the contents from Ways of Survival. Black-colored fur with reddish-brown eyes. The watchdog lay down in a manner that was as elegant as a person. There was no doubt. This dog is a disciple of the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint. Disciple? If I remember correctly, he is called the Breaking the Sky Master. Han Myungo asked with an absurd expression. No, why is a dog a disciple? It happens when people are worse than dogs. In the first place, the idea that people are better than dogs is a human ideal. I read the curious air around the dog. The exclusive skill, Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint, has been activated. Old folktales gathered and became stories. Fragments of folktales in the area became an original story told to me. The story dog who grows up at a village school for 3 years can recite poetry in effect. For example, what if a dog accompanied the strongest person in Murim for a long time? What if the dog started to follow the master's actions one day? He followed and copied for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, and finally, 100 years passed. Jang Haeyoung murmured with astonishment, what is this? The dog stood up on 2 legs and looked at us like he was a human. He had strange eyes that couldn't be read at all. I couldn't sense any hostility from him, but it was difficult to see him as benevolent. Han Myungo frowned at the strange sight. I don't think this is a welcome greeting. I will deal with him. Department head. I'm also a demon Earl, don't look down on me. An Earl Grey demon certainly wasn't weak. An Earl should at least have a decent story. Hayep. Han Myungo ran forward and confidently revealed his story. I wasn't sure about the exact identity of the story, but he had picked up a few history-grade stories and were using them. He was still a member of a Smodious household, so if I checked Han Myungo's skills. Quack. Before I could finish the thought, Han Myungo's body flew through the air with a loud sound. The character Breaking the Sky Master has used 100 steps Godly Fists LV. 10. The character Breaking the Sky Master has used Red Phoenix Shunpo LV. 10. Oh my god! The dog blew Han Myungo out of the house and rushed towards Jang Haeyoung. I reflexively pushed Jang Haeyoung and activated Bookmark. The exclusive skill Way of the Wind LV. 10+1 is activated. The momentary wind sensation made the dog's movements look dull. I pulled Jang Haeyoung and moved along the path created by the wind, avoiding the dog's paw. There was a fearsome power in the dog's paws as sparks occurred. Who could believe that a lowly-looking dog was using the power of the Breaking the Sky? Wait a minute, we have no intention of fighting. Then the dog picked up a piece of paper that was rolling around. Recruiting disciples at all times. I finally realized what was happening. Shit, it is the disciples' recruitment period. If I remembered correctly, there were quite a few people yearning for the old Murim who visited the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint. Most of them weren't even able to enroll because of this dog. I won't accept any person as a disciple if they aren't as good as a dog. In other words, the dog, the Breaking the Sky Master, was the checkpoint to enter the Breaking the Sky Sword School. The dog was stimulated by my movements and growled. Faint sparks appeared around the dog. The startled Jang Haeyoung asked, what is this? Is that really a dog? I was also surprised. Based on the way the sparks were turning yellow, there was no doubt. This was Transcendence Stage 1. I never thought the Breaking the Sky Master would be this strong, damn it. I could deal with him if I revealed my power, but my body hadn't recovered yet. I also couldn't excessively use my stories to deal with the dog. In the end, there was only one method. Yu Jonghyuk helped me just once. Yu Jonghyuk was quiet. This jerk wasn't responding. I'll help you find the Blood Demon School's Demon Spirit Bead if you deal with this guy. Yu Jonghyuk still didn't respond. Then the dog moved. It was so fast that I couldn't avoid it using Way of the Wind. It happened when I was going to invoke electrification. Yu Jonghyuk appeared in front of me and used the heavenly sword of gathering clouds to block the dog's paws. The Demon Spirit Bead is still insufficient. Add the Black Demon Spirit's Black Demon Sword as well. Shit, this stingy person. I understand, just take care of the dog. Yu Jonghyuk lightly shook his sword to shake off the dog and took a kendo position with an arrogant expression. Yellow sparks started to flow around Yu Jonghyuk's body. As expected, Yu Jonghyuk also passed Transcendence Stage 1. Originally, it shouldn't be possible for him at this point in time. The Breaking the Sky Master was tense when the same power appeared. The confrontation between man and dog was filled with unbelievable tension. A formidable magic power started to encroach on the surroundings. In the original work, Yu Jonghyuk had also competed with the Breaking the Sky Master. The Breaking the Sky Sword Saint has 2 disciples. It was the first time he came to the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint to learn swordsmanship. One is Breaking the Sky Master, the dog raised by the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint. He probably lost at that time. The second is Supreme King Yu Jonghyuk. Now it would be different. Chapter 232, Breaking the Sky Sword Saint 6. The Breaking the Sky Master was strong. It sounded ridiculous, but there were probably no dogs in the star stream stronger than the Breaking the Sky Master. Of course, there were few people stronger than the Breaking the Sky Master. Yu Jonghyuk and the Breaking the Sky Master collided. The sparks from Transcendence Stage 1 hit each other, and the landscape started to distort. The path that Transcendence walked caused interference. They were existences who reached Transcendence by walking on only one path. Thus, battles between Transcendence was always a continuation of denying each other. Your path is wrong, my path is right. Through such denials, the Transcendence became stronger, harder, and broken at the end. As the presence of the Transcendence dominated the area, Yu Jonghyuk's thoughts flowed into my mind. It's been a while, Sahyung. TL, senior male apprentice. Anyone who heard it would laugh. He was calling a dog, not a human, Sahyung. However, Yu Jonghyuk didn't laugh. The expression that faded away hit at his heart. The memories that had been suppressed because he didn't have time to dwell on the past were released. Yu Jonghyuk encountered the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint and learnt martial arts with the Breaking the Sky Master in his second round. In this place, Yu Jonghyuk learned a bit about human feelings. Here, Yu Jonghyuk learnt, trained and lived with his non-human master and non-human fellow apprentice. If there was a bit of warmth left inside Yu Jonghyuk right now, it was probably from the first Murim training. Likewise, the first Murim was probably the cause that deprived him of the warmth of humanity. I didn't want to see you again. The strongest dog Breaking the Sky Master and the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint died, fighting against the Returnees Alliance. Yu Jonghyuk moved. The paws of the dog collided with the heavenly sword of gathering clouds. The footsteps of the Red Phoenix Shunpo that reached another state of polarity tangled together. The sparks in the air became more intense as the number of encounters between the dog's front paws and Yu Jonghyuk's sword shot up. Not long afterwards, the energy started to decline little by little. As expected, a main character was a main character. The story of the dog that grew up following the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint couldn't stand against the story of a man who lived to prevent the destruction of the world. The time of Yu Jonghyuk, who lived a lonely life looking only at the scenarios, was found in every swing of the sword. I won't look. Yu Jonghyuk's time didn't contain any mourning because he would have to suffer through the same time again anyway. Fight, fight again, and keep moving forward. It was the best mourning possible for this guy's past. The Breaking the Sky Master was unable to tolerate the weight of the sword and moaned. Yu Jonghyuk's offensive became faster. The swordsmanship became more persistent, and he dug into the weak points in a ruthless manner. Jang Haeyoung was blankly gaping from beside me. Wow, this is real. It was probably the first time he had seen this type of battle. It was a great battle, but it was too early to feel admiration. This was just passing entertainment when considering the fights ahead. In the end, the Breaking the Sky Master was pushed back in the power struggle and whined. Yu Jonghyuk didn't miss this opening. Yu Jonghyuk's successive strikes overpowered the Breaking the Sky Master's paws, and he narrowed the gap. Rough breathing emerged from the dog's mouth. Then Yu Jonghyuk's final blow pierced the Breaking the Sky Master's waist. To be precise, it was about to pierce it. An eerie sensation suddenly went down my spine. Someone was standing behind me. When did this existence stand behind me? The constellation Prisoner of the Golden Headband is surprised. The constellation Demon-like Judge of Fire is curious. A few constellations are wary of the energy they can feel. The sky is noisy today. What spectacle can I see? The owner of the voice stood there in a leisurely manner like she had been drinking. Her body was much bigger than Yu Jonghyuk. The tall woman who was around 3 meters tall passed by me and gave off a colossal pressure. It was so obvious that no one had to ask. The presence in front of me caused my heart to throb. She was one of the strongest transcendents in ways of survival, the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint. An ether storm moved through the air, and Yu Jonghyuk's heavenly sword of gathering clouds froze. Are you beating a dumb dog like this? You are a man without any principles. The heavenly sword of gathering clouds was trembling. The Breaking the Sky Sword Saint's 2 fingers held Yu Jonghyuk's sword like it was a toy. Bark, bark. The Breaking the Sky Master lay on the floor and stretched out his tongue again. On the other hand, Yu Jonghyuk had thrown away the heavenly sword of gathering clouds and activated Red Phoenix Shunpo to leave the place. It was the fastest I had ever seen Yu Jonghyuk move. An interested smile appeared as the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint watched Yu Jonghyuk running away. You are a quick guy. I should grab him last, let's see. The Breaking the Sky Sword Saint's nonchalant gaze moved over our party. The moment I met her eyes, the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint appeared in front of me. Her speed was enough to make me sweat. I couldn't be faster even if I used electrification. First of all, there is one guy whose appearance is unclear. She just grabbed my chin, but my vision shook. I staggered while the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint was already holding the chin of Jang Haeyoung beside me. Kyuka. Oh, this is my type, you pass. The Breaking the Sky Sword Saint's movements left only afterimages. This must be the movement transposition I had only heard about. Suddenly, the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint was poking the fallen Han Myungo in the face with a branch. You look like a monster species. Will I get something if I kill you? What? For the moment, you have the death sentence. Han Myungo from unconscious after being struck by the branch, and the figure of the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint disappeared into the forest. There was the sound of condensed air bursting and a great explosion in the distance. After a while, the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint came back with a big gust of wind. Phew, he was pretty fast. First, his face is qualified. Yu Jonghyuk had bruises all over his face and was caught in the grasp of the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint. Yu Jonghyuk's body was damaged, but he was still using the Red Phoenix Shunpo in such a situation. Nevertheless, Yu Jonghyuk's feet only hit empty air. It was because the Breaking the Sky Sword's huge hand was carrying Yu Jonghyuk on her back. I knew why Yu Jonghyuk was reluctant to meet the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint. Thinking about it with common sense, There were many dangers when encountering the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint at this point. Yu Jonghyuk had learned how to use the sword from the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint in the second round. The Breaking the Sky Sword Saint of the third round did know Yu Jonghyuk at all. "How do you know my techniques?" Yu Jonghyuk didn't answer. Instead, he glared at me with eyes that contained great resentment. "Kim Dokja, do something quickly." For reference, the 18th regression Yu Jonghyuk was killed by the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint. It was the end of the guy who used to say he surpassed his teacher by becoming a transcendent early. I decided to cut to the chase. "Breaking the Sky Sword Saint, we are gathering transcendence to fight against the nebulae." "HRMM, is that so? I need your help." The Breaking the Sky Sword Saint stared at me like I was an unusual toy. Then she rummaged around and pulled out a huge smoking pipe. Tobacco smoke rose. The Breaking the Sky Sword Saint stared at me before suddenly blowing the smoke towards me. "You are mistaken about something. I'm not a volunteer. Get lost if you haven't come to be my disciple." The fine particles of smoke contained the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint's mysterious magic power. The smoke surrounded me. There was no doubt that it would strike at me the moment I spoke nonsense. Of course, I had to speak nonsense. "Do you really need disciples?" "What? In fact, you're not expecting too much." The tobacco smoke surged like a wave. I continued to speak like I was provoking her. "Maybe you will be the last master of the Breaking the Sky Sword School. It is because Murim will soon be destroyed." At this point, curiosity filled the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint's eyes. She frowned as she looked between me and Yu Jonghyuk held in her arms. "It is an interesting story. Do you want to hear it?" "It is interesting, but I'll hear it a bit later. First, I need to look at this guy in my hands." The Breaking the Sky Sword placed Yu Jonghyuk on her shoulder and walked into the house while hitting his butt with the smoking pipe. Yu Jonghyuk's bloody cry echoed in my head. "Kim Dokja. Shingun, treat these people as friends." TL, the last two characters of Breaking the Sky Master is pronounced as Shingun. "Bark bark." The tobacco smoke quickly filled the area around the hut as the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint disappeared into it with Yu Jonghyuk. It was a type of disappearance spell that surrounded the hut. I would only be lost in the smoke if I chased after them. Jang Haeyoung seemed anxious. Is it okay to leave him? Will he die?" "He will be okay, probably." It was regrettable that the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint didn't listen to my story first, but it wasn't the worst situation. It wouldn't be bad to give the two of them time. I hoped she would tease Yu Jonghyuk properly. "Shall we sit back and relax?" Jang Haeyoung and I laid down after helping Han Myungo. Then something touched my legs. I turned around and saw the Breaking the Sky Master holding a bowl of dumplings. I think this was what Yu Jonghyuk bought. Great, I happened to be hungry. The Breaking the Sky Master looked up at me with glib eyes and barked. "Bark bark." "Eat." It was polite enough to impress me. I picked up a dumpling in a slightly embarrassed manner, and the drooling Breaking the Sky Master's head followed the dumpling. He was a really patient dog. "Do you want to eat one?" I asked as I split one dumpling in half. "Bark bark. You are a good person." The Breaking the Sky Master smiled and sat down beside me. He stretched out his feet like a human and blew on the dumpling. I spoke towards the dog. "This place is very quiet." "Bark bark." It has been a long time since a disciple came. A few steps away, Jang Haeyoung was looking at me like I was a madman. I smiled at him and placed a finger to my lips as a sign to keep quiet. The Breaking the Sky Master once again barked. "Bark bark." It wasn't like this in the old days. The Breaking the Sky Master licked the dumpling skin with a foolish expression while looking outside the fence. I followed his gaze and saw the scenery beyond the broken fence. It was the path we had walked. My eyes could only see spider webs and dust, but the Breaking the Sky Master who spent 100 years here probably saw a different landscape. I could roughly guess the landscape. "Bark bark." There were many martial arts halls. "Bark bark." There were many disciples. This was originally a martial arts hall street. It was a street where young people filled with chivalry practiced martial arts. They were passionate and able to devote themselves for years or decades to become masters. They sweated, tried hard, and were rewarded. However, now there was nobody here. I didn't need to ask why. The countless sights I saw here showed me the reason for the decline of this street. It was lonely. Now nobody wants to learn martial arts using the old ways. Indeed, I knew why this was happening in Murim, but it was a natural consequence. Those who were once teenagers in Murim fell to the constellations using the system, and those who practiced martial arts for decades were defeated by the incarnations who gave coins and learnt skills in only 5 minutes. That's why I'm happy you came. It seemed to be a misunderstanding since I didn't intend to learn any martial arts here. I told him so. The old ways aren't always great. It is good if people can easily become stronger. What do you mean? An easy thing is unconditionally bad. Everything that the Docubus and constellations brought are bad. Perhaps a dog who learnt martial arts for 100 years would develop the watchdog philosophy. I know you don't like the Docubus and constellations, but the old ways aren't always right. The old Murim wasn't very fair either. In the old days, people could become a master if they put in effort. I just laughed. Do you really think so? I knew what the Breaking the Sky Master wanted to say. I also knew that it had some value. However, I couldn't agree with this idea. If I left it like this, the Breaking the Sky Master and Breaking the Sky Sword Saint would be buried in the flow of the era and meet the ending of the original novel. I didn't want to let it happen in the third round. At this moment, the expression of the Breaking the Sky Master changed. I thought he was angry at me, but it wasn't something that good. It was due to a dangerous aura felt outside the grounds. Someone was coming this way. Breaking the Sky Sword Saint, give up your techniques. The gate opened, and a few Docubus appeared. I thought it was approximately the time for them to appear, but they were already here. The Breaking the Sky Master raised his magic power and barked. The Docubus told him, the nearby martial arts halls have already sold all their techniques. How long will you defend your old martial arts? I told you that you will miss the timing if you keep being stubborn. How long will we keep offering to buy it for an expensive price? By the way, the appearance of one Docubai was very familiar. The eyes of the Docubai shook greatly when he saw me. You. Chapter 233, Swindler 1. Yu Zhanghyuk's master, the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint, was very patient. It was the same 100 years ago and even 200 years ago. That's how she was able to make a group of sword techniques. As other martial artists sold their skills and left Murim, she stayed here alone and broke through transcendent heights. So who the hell are you? Her big finger poked Yu Zhanghyuk's cheek as he hung in the air. It was just a finger, but it was the finger of a transcendent. Thus, there was no way it couldn't hurt. Nevertheless, Yu Zhanghyuk didn't react. The teacher and disciple, the two of you are the same. They were the words spoken by a Murim teenage expert, the heavenly demon. Perhaps the heavenly demon saw them accurately. You aren't saying a word. You will be spanked if you don't talk. The Breaking the Sky Sword Saint raised the large smoking pipe. Yu Zhanghyuk's butt couldn't endure the pressure, and he couldn't help letting out a pathetic sound. Damn Kim Dokja, I will surely kill you. Slap, slap, slap. The sounds were like jokes, but the power contained in the pipe wasn't a joke. Before long, blood trickled from Yu Zhanghyuk's mouth. Then the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint's eyebrows formed a strange curve. You are a man of character. She was a bit impressed. I will ask you again, where did you steal and learn the power of the Breaking the Sky Sword School? I will spare your life if you tell me honestly. Yu Zhanghyuk slowly raised his head at these words. The Breaking the Sky Sword School was originally a non-humanistic organization. TL, an organization that doesn't pass down techniques to people with personality problems, i.e. don't value talent over virtue. As an outsider, Yu Zhanghyuk couldn't have learnt it. Now the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint said she would spare him. Her meaning was clear. The Breaking the Sky Sword Saint was currently trying to take Yu Zhanghyuk as a disciple. Teacher. Yu Jonghyuk understood his teacher's mind better than anyone. It was hard to find a proper disciple in the declining Murim. Then a transcendent person who learnt her martial arts suddenly showed up. It was natural to be interested. But Yu Jonghyuk bit his lip. Maybe it wasn't bad to move according to Kim Dokja's intentions. He knew the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint better than anyone. If he took the chance and told her the story, he would surely find himself in the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint's good graces. However, Yu Jonghyuk didn't want to do that. HRMM, it is a fiery gaze. Do you desire me? Talking such bullshit in the middle of this situation, it was certainly his teacher. Yu Jonghyuk kept biting his lip. You will die if you meet me here. Yu Jonghyuk remembered his teacher's last appearance, a transcendent wounded alone after years of hard work. No matter what, her stubbornness refused to be broken. Dumb disciple, they are existences that you can deal with. His teacher fought alone against the Returnees Alliance after being turned down by the strongest in Murim, the Heavenly Demon and Blood Demon. Live Jonghyuk. At the time, Yu Jonghyuk hadn't fought with her because he was weak. He was too weak. Your eyes are sad. Yu Jonghyuk trembled at the sudden words. The clear eyes of the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint faced Yu Jonghyuk. The Breaking the Sky Sword Saint was a mixture of a human and giant god. Thus, she had one of the abilities of the Neanderthals. Lonely, arrogant, deeply wounded. She had the mirror eyes that could read the emotions of others. The Breaking the Sky Sword Saint was staring at Yu Jonghyuk with these eyes. Who are you? Yu Jonghyuk harshly bit his lips like he was digging up his agony. He shouldn't say it. Never, he absolutely couldn't say it. The constellation, Demon King of Salvation, is looking at you. Yu Jonghyuk looked up at the message. The constellation, Demon King of Salvation, says it will be okay. It would be okay. The constellation, Demon King of Salvation, says this round will be different. The constellation, Demon King of Salvation, is telling you to trust your teacher. This round would be different. He wouldn't have believed it if it was spoken by someone else. Then why? He wanted to believe what this person was saying. The constellation, Demon King of Salvation. This fly shut up. The Breaking the Sky Sword Saint flicked her fingers at the air, and all the sound in the area disappeared completely. All outside sound was cut off with magic power. It was possible for a transcendent at the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint's level. Kim Dokja's voice wouldn't be heard for a while as long as the Dokibus didn't adjust the channel frequency. From now on, it would be left to Yu Jonghyuk's own judgment. My name is Yu Jonghyuk. Yu Jonghyuk took a small breath before releasing it. I was your disciple. HRMM, what does that mean? I have never seen you before. I naturally have no memories of taking you as a disciple. It is literally what I said. I learned the techniques from. The moment Yu Jonghyuk was about to speak, sparks flew around his body. The story disciple of Breaking the Sky Sword Saint is activated. Yu Jonghyuk's lips twisted as the ending of his words were forcefully changed to a honorific. Teacher. Yu Jonghyuk's expression distorted. He recalled the conversation he had with the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint in the last round. Said that you are a regressor. If so, we might meet again someday. I won't become your disciple next time. This angry fellow, you should say sweet words, and why aren't you adding honorifics? Do you want to caught in your next life? Perhaps this story remained because of his previous conversation with the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint. You have to use honorifics for the incarnation, Breaking the Sky Sword Saint. It was funny. He hadn't been formal with the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint at the time, yet this story remained with him. That time, become my disciple again. His heart throbbed as old memories poured out like a waterfall and knocked on his heart. He couldn't hear the indirect messages, but he felt Kim Dokja looking this way. Companion. Yu Jonghyuk had long forgotten what it felt like to believe in someone. He slowly blinked before opening his mouth. Aren't you wondering about who I am? Of course, I am terribly curious. Then I will open my mental barrier. Take a peek. It is possible with your mirror eyes. HRMM, You know about the mirror eyes. Just 5 minutes. I can't give you any more time than that. The Breaking the Sky Sword Saint's eyes were tinged with suspicion. Are you planning to use a strange trick? You can subdue me even if I used a trick. The Breaking the Sky Sword Saint's eyebrows raised at the provocative tone. Okay. It wasn't just the constellations who loved stories. There weren't many chances to peek at another transcendental existence. This transcendent suddenly appeared in Murim and used the same techniques as her. There was no way she wasn't curious. I will look at you. Soon after, the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint's mirror eyes shone. Yu Jonghyuk felt like his hair was being pulled out. A memory transfer through the mirror eyes was dangerous for Yu Jonghyuk and the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint. Nevertheless, Yu Jonghyuk was committed. Perhaps the spirit of the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint would be broken. She might not believe what she saw. She could deny everything and erase Yu Jonghyuk. However, if this gamble succeeded, he might be able to change the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint. A dozen minutes passed until the clear energy of the mirror eyes in the area disappeared. The light of the mirror eyes was turned off, but the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint didn't talk. She just stared at the floor with a lowered head. Had she gone crazy? Or? There was an unknown emotion in the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint's eyes as she raised her head. It was the first time he had seen this expression in the third round. A moment passed before Yu Jonghyuk realized the meaning of the expression. You said you wouldn't be my disciple again. Yu Jonghyuk and the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint talked for a long time. You've worked hard. Stop with the flimsy comforting. It doesn't match you. Okay, you are unmistakable, my disciple. The Breaking the Sky Sword Saint of the second round regression had died and would never return again. The current Breaking the Sky Sword Saint wasn't the same as the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint of the second round. Even so, the two people spoke like they weren't conscious of this fact. I got revenge. The Heavenly Demon and Blood Demon, I beat them both in the 35th scenario. Yes, I saw. I'm not satisfied since you found it hard to win. Then you shouldn't have died. It wasn't a normal conversation between a teacher and student, but there was a gentle smile on the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint's face. You've changed a lot, Jonghyuk. Nothing has changed. The Breaking the Sky Sword Saint flicked her finger at the answer. Then a portion of the barrier around the hut distorted and a panel reminiscent of a large telescope lens popped up. On the small panel, the outside scenery was shining. Is it due to that child that you came to see me? It was Kim Dokja talking to the dog while eating dumplings. Yu Jonghyuk watched the scene and opened his mouth. Is he your new friend? There is no such thing as friend. This person is just. He is already brave enough to think about fighting against the nebulae. Do you think he can do it? As the first friend of her blunt disciple, the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint looked closely at Kim Dokja's face. Then the barrier shook, and a loud voice was heard. Breaking the Sky Sword Saint, give up your techniques. The surprised Yu Jonghyuk rose from his seat. The Dakibus, the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint spoke like she was tired of this. The techniques buyers came again. It is faster than planned. How long has it been? A while. I'm the only one left around here. Martial arts were valuable in Murim. It was because they were all types of stories made up of history. The deeper the origin, the greater the value. The Dakibus were well aware of this and coveted the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint's techniques. Yu Jonghyuk pulled out the heavenly sword of gathering clouds and opened his mouth. Kim Dokja and I will handle it. The opponents are Dakibus. You can't do anything. It is possible for Kim Dokja. Instead of answering his teacher's question, Yu Jonghyuk watched the Dakibus on the panel. One of the Dakibus looked familiar. It is that guy from Seoul Dome. Kim Dokja probably wouldn't let him go. Then Kim Dokja's voice came from the screen. I didn't know you were still alive. Didn't you go to be punished? As expected, Kim Dokja's characteristic messing around with people had started. Kim Dokja scratched his chin and spoke to the Dakibus like it was interesting. Yes. Did you come to buy the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint's techniques? Yu Jonghyuk shrugged at his teacher. Kim Dokja would have sorted it even without Yu Jonghyuk coming out. He didn't know what Kim Dokja was trying to do, but Kim Dokja was going to do another weird trick to deal a proper blow to the Dakibus. The next moment, Kim Dokja said something strange with an unexpected smile. Okay, I'll sell it. The Techniques of the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint. Chapter 234, Swindler 2. You perhaps at that time. I saw the trembling expression of the Dakibus and remembered some bad memories. Bu floating beside me was also frowning. It was natural for her to be furious. This was a Dakibai behind the tragedy of the 41st Shin Yusung disaster. His name, was it Paul? I thought he would go to purgatory and be severely punished. The Bureau's punishment was like hitting cotton. What type of punishment was joining the Murim redevelopment team? You've lost a lot of weight in your face while I haven't seen you. Ukyuu. You were an intermediate Dakibai back then. Now you are lesser grade. You. I saw his agitation and felt like asking for the solo meeting rights to beat him up again. The story of this guy being beaten up was the any person reading it well. Stop and back off, Paul. Another Dakibai moved forward on behalf of Paul, who was unable to speak. Are you Kim Dokja? I looked closer and this Dakibai was also familiar. I had heard this voice somewhere before. Wait, this guy. Was that you, the person working under Bihyung the name? Yunki indeed, you are Kim Dokja. The Dakibai happily greeted me. I dimly remembered. He was the Dakibai responsible for the sub-channels under Bihyung. I heard rumors that you were alive. I didn't expect to see you at a place like this. Is Bihyung doing well? He was visibly gloomy after you disappeared. I felt a little sorry that Bihyung had become depressed. That guy Bihyung must have liked me. Haven't you cleaned up well? You previously didn't even know how to update the scenario. That is a shameful story. I am now an intermediate Dakibai. He was an intermediate Dakibai. This guy was part of the Korean Peninsula scenario, so Bihyung must have received a high-speed promotion. It felt like a lot of time had passed, but it had been less than 1 year. By the way, Dokja, what do you mean by selling the skills? Yunki watched me with calm eyes. No matter what, a Dakibai was a Dakibai. I couldn't take it easy. I meant it literally. I will persuade the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint to sell you the skills. How will Dokja? I have my ways. What skills do you need? The Red Phoenix Shunpo or the 100 Steps Godly Fists? We already have the 100 Steps Godly Fists. What we need is the Breaking the Sky Swordsmanship. Yunki nodded at my words. It was as I thought, the Breaking the Sky Swordsmanship. It was the name given to the Breaking the Sky Sword Saints Breaking the Sky. One of the top-ranked skills in the first Murim that anyone would covet was Yu Jonghyuk's Breaking the Sky Swordsmanship. I felt the Breaking the Sky Master growling by my side and quickly agreed. Okay, I'll sell it. No, I won't sell it. I'll give it to you. The Breaking the Sky Master looked up at me with absurd eyes. Yunki was astonished. Really? Instead, do me 2 favors in exchange. The first one, place the Breaking the Sky Swordsmanship as the prize for the scenario you will soon open. I smiled at Yunki's stupid expression. Did he think I would just give him the Breaking the Sky Swordsmanship? Aren't you going to open the martial arts competition scenario soon? The Black Demon Sword is included in it. How do you know? Why are you so startled? You always do this. It is a regular scenario for Murim. A precious sword of Murim will appear and a huge crowd of people will fight for it. That is true, but how do you know about the Black Demon Sword? How did I know? The martial arts competition was an event scenario that Yu Jonghyuk repeatedly participated in when he came to first Murim. I didn't know how many times I made a comment telling the author to skip the competition. It doesn't matter how I know. In any case, add the Breaking the Sky Swordsmanship as a prize. Give it as the first-place prize. Yunki's eyes rolled quickly. It was probably a great suggestion for him. There were a limited number of things that the Dakibus could do with the techniques bought from the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint. They could secure additional subscriptions by adding it to a large scenario or sell it at a high price through the Docubuy bag. Yunki was currently figuring out which one would be more profitable. Okay, I have nothing to lose if I do this. It will be saving on the cost of buying the technique. Only. Only. You said 2 favors. What is the second one? I laughed softly at the prudence. He had become pretty clever since reaching intermediate level. The second condition is simple. I want everyone here to participate in the martial arts competition scenario. Everyone here. Yunki's eyes narrowed. He finally figured out my ploy. It is an interesting suggestion, but it is difficult. Why? I don't know about the other incarnations, but it can't be the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint. I thought he would say this. The Breaking the Sky Sword Saint was likely to win if she participated in the martial arts competition. The participants of the martial arts competition would naturally be reduced and the Docubus would suffer losses. I acted like I was yielding a big thing. Then everyone apart from the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint. Then it's fine. The martial arts competition is in 2 weeks. Until then, please prepare the skills of the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint. I responded to the waiting Yunki. I understand. Don't forget to properly invite us to the scenario. Of course, then I'll see you again soon. Give my regards to Bihyung. Haha, I understood. Maybe he was glad that things went well. Yunki laughed joyfully as he disappeared. The Docubus that followed him also started to leave. Paul was staring at me the whole time and I glared as hard as I could. After a while, the Docubus disappeared and Jang Haeyoung standing next to me grabbed my collar. Hey, what the hell did you do just now? Sell the techniques. Enter the martial arts competition. What the hell? Woof 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 woof. We won't sell our techniques. What the hell are you thinking? The dazed Breaking the Sky Master responded too late. It was the expected reaction. In fact, this much was what I guessed. Kim Dokja. It was as expected. Yu Jonghyuk caused a huge cloud of dust as he ran over and grabbed my neck. He shook me like a man betrayed. I flapped like a paper doll without strength and said, "Let me speak." Shut up, what the hell are you thinking? Selling the techniques. Please calm down. I did it because of you. What? Don't you know what we just got? Yu Jonghyuk's hand stopped for the first time at my words. Then a message came to my ears. A new sub-scenario has arrived. The sub-scenario, martial arts competition, has begun. Yu Jonghyuk read the details of the scenario that just arrived and was silent for a moment. The Black Demon Sword. Yes, you said you wanted it. If you look closely, there is also the Demon Spirit Bead. It is the 3rd place prize, but I don't remember well. Yu Jonghyuk's eyes were greatly shaken as he watched me. He suddenly released me. This jerk, you didn't need to be so moved. In any case, he seemed to be persuaded. The problem was the other side. I turned and saw the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint standing with a stiff expression. An existence born with the power of a giant god. The Breaking the Sky Sword Saint's existence is no different from a god. There was nothing wrong with the description from Ways of Survival. She felt overwhelmingly threatening just standing there. I smiled and waved my hand. Did the conversation between teacher and student end well? You aren't sane. Listen to my story before saying anything. I have no time to mix words with a person like you. The heavy fog around us was thickening. I quickly added, Breaking the Sky Sword Saint, it isn't possible to maintain the old ways forever. The Breaking the Sky Sword Saint's thick eyebrows were fiercely curved. Is it so important to keep the non-humanistic principle? What if you lose everything you have because of it? Yu Jonghyuk looked at me like I was mentally ill. Kim Dokja, don't say anything else. Of course, I kept talking. In the first place, your real strength isn't the Breaking the Sky swordsmanship, right? You've abandoned it for a long time after reaching transcendence. Why don't you sell it for something? The ground around me started vibrating. Eventually, Yu Jonghyuk placed me behind him as protection and raised the heavenly sword of gathering clouds. It felt as if the gravity of the whole area was strengthened. It felt like a giant mountain was pressing on my shoulders. Jang Haeyoung and Han Myungo couldn't even scream as they sank into the ground. The group would be wiped out if this continued. "Teacher, wait!" Yu Jonghyuk cried out, but the breaking the sky sword saint didn't stop. Was she going to do this? She was really stubborn. The constellation, Demon King of Salvation, has triggered the status of a constellation. Sparks appeared around me, and the surrounding gravitational pressure was temporarily relieved. I smiled at the startled, breaking the sky sword saint. I might have an incarnation body, but I was still a narrative-grade constellation. I haven't sold it yet, so don't be too harsh. You were hiding. In any case, you can regain the martial arts technique if you win the competition. Won't you win the competition? The breaking the sky sword saint looked calmer, and the pressure she gave off subsided. It wouldn't be a problem for her to overpower me if she used her real strength, but she seemed to take me as Yu Jonghyuk's colleague. She told me, "I can't participate in the competition. It would be no fun if an adult plays with kids. The children of Murim are much stronger than you think." "I'm aware, however, your disciple is strong." The breaking the sky sword saint understood what I meant, and I patted Yu Jonghyuk's shoulder as he stood next to me. "There will be Jonghyuk in the competition." Yu Jonghyuk turned and stared at me with wide eyes. I didn't know why he was surprised. Did he think he wouldn't participate? The breaking the sky sword saint's eyebrows wriggled again. "He's still weak. You can make him stronger. He is your disciple anyway." I never said I would accept him as a disciple. At this point, Yu Jonghyuk stared at the breaking the sky sword saint with wide eyes. In any case, the teacher and student were both not honest. The exclusive skill, Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint, has been activated. Well, I knew that not being honest was their virtual. It is too early for him. Jonghyuk will die if he goes to the competition. He isn't at a level to compete with those teenage masters. I couldn't fully hear the breaking the sky sword saint's thoughts because of my low understanding level. Even so, it wasn't hard to know what she was thinking. In the end, I had to do this for the teacher and student. "If you accept Yu Jonghyuk as a disciple, I will let you meet your clan." "What does that mean?" "Exactly what I said. You haven't found your clan yet, correct?" The breaking the sky sword looked at me with a strange expression. "I don't know how you know this, but my clan has been wiped out. There are no giant gods left." "No, there are still some left." "What?" I looked up and spoke. "Master of the underworld, are you still watching?" Hades was now in my channel. I owed him for last time, so it was time to give a greeting. However, it wasn't Hades who responded to my call. "The constellation, Queen of the Darkest Spring, is looking at you with a strange smile." "It has been a while, Persephone." Damn, this queen was hard to deal with. When did she enter? I was about to open my mouth when I heard more messages. "The constellation, Queen of the Darkest Spring, says she has heard the story. The constellation, Queen of the Darkest Spring, will listen to your request." As expected, Persephone was quick when it came to good stories. The problem was that this queen never did anything without an ulterior motive. "The constellation, Queen of the Darkest Spring, says there is a condition." "As expected." "Please say it." "The constellation, Queen of the Darkest Spring, is inviting you to the Feast of Constellations." Feast of Constellations. It was strange. Was now the time for a constellation banquet to be held? Persephone's message followed as an answer to my question. "The constellation, Queen of the Darkest Spring, is inviting you to the Gourmet Association." Chapter 235, Swindler 3. From the next day onwards, Yu Jonghyuk was absorbed in training with the breaking the sky sword saint. The breaking the sky sword saint kept maintaining a serious expression from the moment she heard her clan could be found. Yu Jonghyuk knew her heart but devoted himself to meditation instead of comforting his teacher. Originally, I was going to meet the ancient giant gods in person, but in any case, it wouldn't be bad to leave it to Kim Dokcha. Yu Jonghyuk would have had to pass through 40 scenarios in order to meet an ancient giant god if he followed his original plan. That guy, I didn't think he would have such a relationship with the underworld. Kim Dokja really had unknown corners. How the hell did he succeed in charming all those constellations? The constellation, demon-like Judge of Fire, is laughing. Just look at this archangel. The demon-like Judge of Fire wasn't such a constellation during the second round. She was a strict and lofty archangel full of justice. Yu Jonghyuk couldn't understand why such an existence was so ruined this time. Are you really thinking about participating in the competition? Yu Jonghyuk nodded silently at the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint's question. You might die. The competition scenarios are never easy. I'm much stronger than I was at this point of time in the last round. It isn't at a level to deal with the teenage masters. Yu Jonghyuk was well aware of the teenage masters of Murim. One of them was the ice flower goddess whose techniques were sold by the previous merchant who welcomed visitors. There was also a teenage master from the South Palace, a distant relative of the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint. They would appear when the martial arts competition opened. In addition, the martial arts competition was a commodity, so he had to consider the incarnations of famous constellations participating. Some constellations are looking forward to the martial arts competition. Some constellations are tired of the martial arts competition. Fortunately, the stronger constellations were tired of these scenarios. As a scenario that repeated every year in Murim, there weren't many constellations paying much attention to the martial arts competition. The Breaking the Sky Sword Saint read Yu Jonghyuk's heart and opened her mouth. You have to open Transcendence Stage 2. I've opened it before, so it won't be difficult. It is different from breaking through Stage 1. I will do it somehow. I've already reached Stage 3 in the last round. Stage 3. The Breaking the Sky Sword Saint's eyes shook. The third stage of transcendence wasn't a step that could be reached with talent alone. It took an enormous amount of time to pass through the third stage. On the other hand, Yu Jonghyuk couldn't have experienced such a large amount of time in the last round. Yu Jonghyuk understood his teacher's question and replied, I used a time fault in the dark dimension. A time fault in the dark dimension. It was often called the cemetery of Murim. There were two types of Murim people who went to that place. In that prison of enormous time, there were those who hit the wall of talent and became crazy, or those who went beyond the wall. Yu Jonghyuk was the latter. I can't imagine how hard your training was. How many years were you inside there? Around 100 years. Stage 3 in 100 years. No wonder why you are so arrogant. 100 years. It was a long time for ordinary humans, but it wasn't the same for transcendence. There were many people who lived for 200 or 300 years in this world who couldn't reach transcendence no matter how much they built up their martial arts. It was a wall that couldn't be overcome by improving the physical body with all types of spiritual medicine. There was a thick wall in transcendence, yet Yu Jonghyuk crossed that wall 3 times in 100 years. I will shorten it if I enter the time fault again. It's a crazy idea. Using a time fault will numb the soul. Haven't you seen the martial artist who went mad in the time fault? Don't you know that there is a fine line between insanity and transcendence? In the last round, I couldn't surpass you even after entering the time fault. Of course, 100 years is too early to catch up with me. The Breaking the Sky Sword Saint struggled for a moment before saying, in any case, you have reached the third stage. It is better to teach you than an ignorant person. Yu Jonghyuk's expression wasn't very bright despite his teacher's praise. The Breaking the Sky Sword Saint felt something fishy and questioned him. Yu Jonghyuk eventually told her the story. The Breaking the Sky Sword Saint heard the story and asked as if it was absurd. Your spiritual awakening was while you were exhausted. Well, I don't remember exactly. In the end, he didn't know who he broke through into Stage 3. The Breaking the Sky Sword Saint's expression wasn't good. Are you confident you can trust your unconscious mind and break through to Stage 3 again? That sounds like the pseudo-cult followers of the Ice Flower Goddess. That's why I need you. Please teach me your techniques again. What? Using the same method as before is difficult. It takes too long. The Breaking the Sky Sword saint was stunned by her disciple's shameless words. I don't know if I should help. You've crossed the wall of transcendence, so you know that transcendence is never done in one way. All transcendents have to find their own way to transcend. You can still help. Isn't there the 10,000 streams will gather together school? TL, the idiom that all things will eventually return to the same point. It means we will have to find one of the many branches. There is no such enlightenment in the world, just as there is no such story. Still, if there are 10,000 branches, can't we catch one of them? I've already found one in the past. Yu Jonghyuk said this and thought he was somehow talking like Kim Dokja. He didn't originally talk this way. Maybe he was influenced while they were together. The Breaking the Sky Sword saint sighed at her silent disciple. Were you originally so talkative? It won't be easy. You should have seen from the previous round that the Breaking the Sky swordsmanship wasn't originally for men. Yu Jonghyuk also knew it. That's why it was very difficult to learn the skills of the Breaking the Sky Sword saint in the past. However, this time was different. The problem of gender can be resolved to some extent. What does that mean? The constellation who likes to change sex is snorting. Yu Jonghyuk frowned at the indirect message. Complex emotions and enormous anger rose every time he thought about it, but he had to take advantage of everything he could. It is time to wrap this up. After a while, the astonished Breaking the Sky Sword saint's mouth dropped open. Yu Jonghyuk took out his sword with a blank expression. You can never tell that guy out there. In the Kim Dokja industrial complex, there are people who doubt your achievements. The story about the swindler Kim Dokja is spreading in the Kim Dokja industrial complex. I woke up from my nap due to a message in the air. Based on the message, it seemed that a bad rumor was circulating in the industrial complex while I was away. It was natural since the industrial complex had changed rulers, but the new ruler never showed his face. By the way, swindler Kim Dokja, why did it feel like people who didn't know my face knew me better? Kim Dokja, what are you doing? Someone kicked me and I got up with a groan. I saw Yu Jonghyuk, whose upper body was bare and covered in sweat. It was probably from the hard training under the Breaking the Sky Sword saint. I was just thinking for a moment. You're being lazy. I have to be lazy now. I'm a patient. It was an excuse, but it was true. I had yet to fully recover from the exile penalty. The recovery was also delayed due to what happened with the Breaking the Sky Sword saint. I was increasing the proficiency of Lamarck Kirin and steadily ingesting story fragments, so recovery wouldn't be too late. I looked at the people training hard in the front yard of the place. How about those guys? The sweating Jang Haeyoung was sparring against Han Myungo. The Breaking the Sky Master was supervising and pointing out any mistakes. That girl has a fair amount of talent. Her strange attribute means she is learning it very quickly. That isn't a girl, he's a man. Sometimes I don't know where your eyes are. What an idiot. He was a man, right? It was like this in the original novel. I was about to speak when Yu Jonghyuk wondered, rather, what is happening with the constellations? I'm thinking. It had already been a week since I received Persephone's message. The constellation, Queen of the Darkest Spring, is inviting you to the Gourmet Association. In 1 week, the Gourmet Association Festival will be held at Oro Castle. Please decide if you will depart by tonight. An invitation to the Gourmet Association. I expected it to happen someday, but it was earlier than expected. The Gourmet Association. It was a gathering of constellations who loved gourmet food. At first glance, it was like the Constellation Banquet, but reality was completely different. If the Constellation Banquet was official, the Gourmet Association Festival was unofficial, and the intensity of the events that happened was also different. The constellation Demon-like Judge of Fire is worried about you. Above all, there was no Uriel in the Gourmet Association. The constellation Prisoner of the Golden Headband is wondering about your choice. There was no the great sage, the equal of heaven, no secretive plotter. Was there, the abyssal black flame dragon? I couldn't remember it well. In any case, The atmosphere of the place wasn't as favorable to me as the constellation's banquet. There was nothing more dangerous in the star stream than going to a gathering of unstable constellations. Yu Jonghyuk read my expression and asked, "Are you frightened?" "No way. I wouldn't have come all the way here if I didn't participate in the Gourmet Association for that reason." I silently watched Jang Haeyoung and Han Myungo sparring. Han Myungo was continuously hit and let out a scream. Yu Jonghyuk watched along with me and stated, "It's because of this place." That's right. According to Persephone's message, the Gourmet Association Festival was exactly 1 week later. As it happened, the date was exactly the same as the martial arts competition. It meant I wouldn't be in the first Murim on the day the martial arts competition scenario occurred. If something happened. Go and come back, Kim Dokcha. Chapter 236, Swindler 4. I reflexively raised my head at Yu Jonghyuk's decisive words. Is it okay? The scenario we are facing right now isn't the Demon King selection, but the martial arts competition. I had been thinking this, but once I heard Yu Jonghyuk say it, I felt a strange sense of relief and pride. You have really become a person. At the very least, I won't die for the time being. Yu Jonghyuk ignored my words and continued. The only thing that can be obtained from the competition is the Black Demon Sword. Getting the Black Demon Sword doesn't mean we can win the Demon King selection. Yu Jonghyuk was right. Winning the Murim competition didn't mean we could win the Demon King selection. That's why you have to go to the Gourmet Association. We need colleagues for our nebula. You might be able to gain allies if you go to the Gourmet Association. I understood what he was saying. Go to the Gourmet Association and come back with some usable constellations. There was one worrisome point. Our nebula. Didn't you say you would make one last time? Kim Dokcha's company. I'll quit right away if it is really named that. Yu Jonghyuk turned his head away with a frown. I felt pleasantly surprised. The constellation, demon-like Judge of Fire, is wiping her tears with a handkerchief. It was something that was unthinkable when he first grabbed me by the neck. Yu Jonghyuk and I really became colleagues. In any case, it was funny that I was hesitating when Yu Jonghyuk told me this. I stood up and declared, "I'll go." That night, I was greeted by a Gourmet Association guide who flew through the portal. The guide drove a small carriage with a black horse, while dressed in a Western cowboy costume. He seemed to be one of the subordinates of the owner of Oro Castle. The guide descended from the carriage and bowed politely to me. "Are you the Demon King of Salvation?" "That's right. Take the carriage. The journey is quite long and you can rest." The guide didn't show any particular surprise or responses towards me. Was it because he was a guide of the Gourmet Association that he wasn't surprised by Demon King of Salvation? The guide got on the carriage and turned to ask me, "I will pick up some passengers along the way. Do you mind?" That's okay." "Some passengers who?" I missed the opportunity to ask as the guide immediately started the carriage. The interior of the carriage was spacious and comfortable. There was no shaking at all, and it was like I wasn't moving. It was great. I could read ways of survival on the journey. I read ways of survival during these few hours. Maybe it wasn't a few hours, but a few days. It was difficult to measure the time because I didn't know how fast the carriage was moving. Thus, the 15th regression Yu Jonghyuk thought as he died. I wasn't lucky. At the end of the 19th round, Yu Jonghyuk thought, "Next time." Yu Jonghyuk finished his 25th life and murmured, "It really will be next time." I had to cancel calling him a person. This jerk, he was still a sunfish in the first revision. It was the same whether I helped him or not. I didn't forget to find the information I needed on Yu Jonghyuk's death. There weren't many details about the Gourmet Association. Yu Jonghyuk visited the Gourmet Association in the later stages, but it was to kill them, not get along with them. Those sections were mostly filled with Kuahak. The Flying Fox said, "Constellations are all bad. However, the Gourmet Association are the worst among them." It was also impossible to find any favorable contents about them. The more I read, the more I was uncertain that going to the Gourmet Association was the right thing to do. Anyway, I continued reading Ways of Survival. Yu Jonghyuk was thinking, it would have been nice if he had come with me. If there was a difference in taste between the original and the revision, it was the moment these words came out. They were traces of when I intervened in the original work. I paid particular attention whenever these lines appeared. It was because there were only a few scenes where the third regression was mentioned. You must do this. He said this is the right way. The right way? What did this mean? It is time to eat. If you don't mind, I've prepared something simple. Thank you. The carriage stopped and the guide provided me with a meal. It was a type of in-flight meal. It resembled high-quality ham and smelled very fragrant. Of course, it wasn't really ham. The Last Gladiator of Planet Seligeddon. It was a story meal typical of the Gourmet Association. It seemed to be a pretty strong story based on the concentration that I could feel. I touched the soft ham with a fork that the guide gave me. At this moment, some of the story contents flowed into my head. Spare me, please spare me. A city that crumbled in a horrible manner due to the turmoil of the constellations. The appearance of incarnations bursting under huge pressure. The dying gladiator who lost all dignity. The bodies of torn incarnations pouring into the mouths of wickedly smiling constellations. The last scene of the world that had already disappeared. The screams and despair of the incarnations gathered together at the end of my nose. I looked down at the ham and quietly put down the fork. The food doesn't suit your taste. I'm not hungry right now, I answered with a calm smile. I'm sorry, I didn't account for your taste as a constellation, new food. No, I'll eat what I brought. The guide took away the plates in a regretful manner and sat back down on the driver's seat. Once he was completely gone, I barely relaxed my expression. It felt like I was going to vomit. A sentence I had just read in Ways of Survival passed through my head. It is a nightmare for the incarnations. Once again, I realized where I was going and who I was dealing with. I foolishly acted like I was going on a picnic. I touched some of the stories that were in my pocket. Compared to the stories they ate, the stories abandoned in the story horizon were almost colorless and odorless. They were the plain stories of ordinary incarnations living and dying in a normal way, just like trash. There was a reason why the Gourmet Association abandoned them. I absorbed the story fragments using Lamarck Kirin and quietly closed my eyes. Somehow, I felt like I was going to have a nightmare. The trip continued for a few days, and I used the interlude to look at some of the things I hadn't maintained. Coins possessed, 1,252,353 C. First, I checked the coins that I hadn't paid attention to lately. It was a really huge amount of money. 1.2 million was enough to buy the Great Demon's eyes. However, Anna Croft had already obtained it. I had a better skill, so I didn't need it, but I wondered how to use the remaining coins. It wasn't bad to increase my overall stats, but the efficiency of the stats started to fall once the average exceeded 100. From then on, investing in skills was much better than investing in stats. Of course, there were times when the accumulated overall stats were overwhelming. Once I convinced the fourth wall, I should properly check my attributes window. A new passenger is going to enter. It is okay. I was so immersed in my thoughts that I wasn't aware the carriage stopped. Yes, I am fine. The left door of the carriage opened at my reply. I was a bit nervous as I looked at the people who were going to join me through the cracks in the door. The possibility of it being a constellation was high. I've been waiting a long time. Why are you so late? I'm sorry, the road was a bit rougher than I thought. A voice that was somewhat familiar entered my ears. It was a high female voice mixed with a Russian accent. I could see 3 people through the cracks in the door. There is someone who has already boarded. I hope you have a pleasant journey. Whether it was lucky or unlucky, I didn't feel any constellations. In other words, they were all incarnations with stories. A woman with a gentle smile boarded the carriage first. "Excuse me." The woman who greeted me politely had brown hair that fluttered in the wind. The moment the woman raised her head, I reflexively asked, "Selina Kim?" Selina Kim. She was one of the American representatives at the Constellation banquet. Perhaps it was due to my changed face, but the woman was confused for a while before exclaiming, "Ah, you. Do you remember who I am?" "Of course, Kim Dokcha, it's been a while. Were you invited?" "Yes, that's what happened." I shook hands with Selina and studied the rest of the group. The person who followed with a girl with twin ponytails. "What are you, eh?" As expected, I had seen this person before. It was the Russian girl I met at the Constellation banquet. Her name, what was it? I remember her having the nickname of Red something. I ignored the girl and checked the remaining person. At this moment, I got goosebumps. This is the first time we've actually met. There was an immeasurable depth in the calm and relaxed voice. I knew this person well, one of the strongest incarnations in ways of survival along with Yu Jonghyuk. I had even met this person before. "I saw you in a dream one day. I don't remember since it was too long ago. At that time you said we would meet." I remembered. In the green zone scenario, I saw her after eating the Spectre's stone. I told her, "I remember. I'll formally greet you. It is nice to meet you, Kim Dokcha, no demon king of salvation." She smiled while a yellow demon eye flew above her blonde hair. It was a very beautiful smile, but I couldn't accept it. It was because I knew better than anyone the disturbing thoughts behind the smile. "I am Anna Croft." Asgard's prophet, the head of the Zarathustra, Anna Croft, was here. Chapter 237, Gourmet Association 1. Anna Croft was silent on the way to Oro Castle. She sometimes smiled strangely when our eyes met, but she didn't speak first. I wished I could read her thoughts, but my understanding of Anna Croft was so low that I couldn't activate the second stage of Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint. I didn't like Anna Croft in the original novel. I couldn't count the number of times she killed or backstabbed Yu Jonghyuk with the fingers on both hands. The atmosphere in the carriage was awkward because both Anna Croft and I weren't speaking. Selina Kim was sweating. Thus, we came together. The incarnations of Asgard were invited. Selina Kim's good nature meant she couldn't stand this type of atmosphere, and she kept saying things that weren't asked for. In any case, it was good for me to hear a lot of information. "I see, are you part of Asgard?" "Yes, it was Anna's arrangement." "You picked a good nebula." "Ahaha, I was just lucky. Thanks to it, I can enjoy this great luxury. The other incarnations weren't invited." Selina Kim looked slightly excited. Well, the invitation to the Gourmet Association had a different meaning from the Constellation banquet. If the Constellation banquet was a gathering for the entire nobility, the Gourmet Association was similar to a gathering of the upper nobility. Still, it wasn't necessarily a good thing. I wondered if Selina Kim could continue thinking like this once she arrived. "Iris, why aren't you saying anything? You said you wanted to meet Dr. SSI again." "VLEN, I mean, since when did I say that? TL, that's what Google gave me. If anyone is Russian and knows the actual translation, then please comment." "This child, haven't you been talking about Kim Dokcha since the last banquet? You haven't seen each other for a while, so say something." Iris' face turned red at Selina Kim's teasing. Iris noticed my gaze and carefully opened her mouth. "You are the demon king of salvation, right?" I had doubts that this person was the cheeky kid from back then, but I decided to be polite. "Correct." "Is it uncomfortable for you to be with us?" "Why would I feel uncomfortable? We are just incarnations. The demon king of salvation is." Selina Kim's expression was also changing. I had forgotten for a moment, but I was different from them. The gap between incarnation and constellation was like the gap between heaven and earth. Other constellations would have said, "These little bugs finally realize who they are talking to." Of course, I wasn't like that. "It's fine, I was once an incarnation." Selina Kim seemed to sigh with relief at my words. Iris gained some courage and opened her mouth again. Then, can I ask one question? Please ask. Do you have an incarnation you signed a sponsor contract with? Why are you asking? That. Selena gave a hint for the hesitating Iris. Iris, do you have a sponsor yet? I am just asking. It is out of curiosity. The twin ponytails moved as Iris twisted her head while Shin Yu-sung and Lee Gil-young on Earth came to my mind. Those guys, please stay well. I spoke with a nostalgic heart. I have an incarnation on the Korean peninsula. Iris' expression changed at my words. Perhaps that little kid. I nodded. It seemed the rumor of Shin Yu-sung had spread everywhere. The constellations had already told their incarnations. Then Anna Croft opened her mouth. Have you ever thought about changing your incarnation? Selena Kim and Iris stared at Anna Croft with surprise. Anna Croft continued speaking. There are many good incarnations in the Asgard Nebula. There are many talented friends. Iris is one of them. It was an unexpected proposal. Why was Anna Croft suddenly making this offer? Maybe Asgard was talking about me. Well, I hadn't formally made a nebula yet. Are you telling me to join the Asgard Nebula? It isn't necessarily the same thing. There are many good incarnations in Asgard. I'm just saying that it isn't bad to accept one of them. Can't you withdraw the sponsor contract at any point? The disappointed Iris once again stared at me with sparkling eyes. I replied with an emotionless face. I have no intention of canceling my sponsor contract. Do you like that girl? Is she called Shin Yu-sung? I didn't answer, and Iris' face filled with deep disappointment. My understanding of her might be very low, but the change in emotions was easily caught. By the way, Anna Croft made a strange remark. For example, if an incarnation suddenly dies. There was an unknown smile on Anna Croft's face. Don't look so surprised. It is just an example. It is a possibility. An unexpected accident or a sudden disaster can cause the death of an incarnation. It is a common thing. If that happens, don't you think you'll change your incarnation? An unexpected accident. Yes, an unexpected accident. An accident that happened accidentally. I stared at Anna Croft. Shin Yu-sung's death, I never thought about it. That won't happen as long as I live. You don't know. It is unclear how and when fate will work. Fate? The atmosphere momentarily shook. The surrounding air filled with an ominous aura, and the entire carriage trembled. Iris and Selena Kim's expression stiffened. They had goosebumps on their arms as they watched me with a frightened expression. I hadn't wanted to do this. I didn't want to scare them by seeming like a villain. However, Anna Croft crossed a line she shouldn't have crossed. If something like that happens, sparks of probability appeared as I used my true voice. The nebula Asgard is concerned. The constellations of the Asgard Nebula are warning you. I heard the indirect messages of the Asgard constellations enter my ears. Nevertheless, I didn't stop. If that happens, I will destroy all the worlds that caused that fate. The impact of the shock caused the windows of the carriage to burst at the same time. The startled driver looked back this way. There was even vague astonishment on Anna Croft's normally calm face. Perhaps she wasn't aware of exactly how much status I had. Shortly afterwards, the carriage stopped and the voice of the guide was heard. We have arrived at Oro Castle. I smiled at the three people who were still stiff. Let's go. We got down from the carriage and was guided into Oro Castle. Oro Castle. The castle was one of the main homes of the Gourmet Association scattered all over the world and was owned directly by a member of the Gourmet Association. Perhaps it was. I remember that it was one of the 72 demon kings. Was it immeasurable austerity? They have been granted permission to enter. I've confirmed it, come in. The interior of the castle had more of a modern than medieval style. It was reminiscent of a luxurious hotel lobby. The forms of the intermediate symbolic bodies could be seen scattered around. Some constellations are paying attention to your presence. We were guided to a waiting room in the corner of the first-floor lobby. Perhaps some people hadn't arrived yet. The three incarnations of Asgard and I were the only ones present. Please wait in the waiting room. There are still more incarnations arriving. Ah, the Demon King of Salvation is a constellation. I will arrange a separate waiting room for you. No, I'm fine, I'll just be here. The guide stared at me like I was strange but soon disappeared. Frankly, it was more comfortable here. I needed some time to prepare my mind. There were panels hung on the wall of the waiting room. They played sub-scenarios currently going on all over the dimensions. Excuse me, earlier. It was Selena Kim who spoke. She might be hesitant because of what happened in the carriage, but there was nothing wrong with the setting of ways of survival. I smiled softly and replied, "It's fine. I was a bit too much." Selena Kim's expression slightly softened. "No, we were too rude. I'm sorry, Demon King of Salvation." Her words were much more formal than before. I didn't mean to refuse the apology, but something felt bad. Selena Kim did nothing wrong. She was one of the few people I liked in ways of survival. The one I hated was the shameless person standing in the corner and watching this scene. Then the door of the waiting room opened, and another guide appeared. "Incarnations of Asgard, please follow me." The constellations of Asgard were probably looking for them. Selena Kim and Iris nodded to me before leaving. On the other hand, Anna Croft watched me without leaving the room. "You have too many constellations as enemies. It isn't something for you to worry about." Anna Croft slightly frowned at my assertion. She didn't seem daunted despite what happened before. She was a mere incarnation, but she had contracted with an entire nebula. Perhaps the top-ranked Asgardians were protecting her from my status. As comrades moving towards the same goal, I am seriously advising you. You might not like it, but it is time to cooperate with other constellations. The same goal. Well, I don't know your goal, so I can't answer it. Protecting this world, aren't you fighting for this as well? Instead of answering the question, I glanced at the panel on the wall of the waiting room. There were images of incarnations torn apart by disasters and constellations. I didn't answer, and Anna Croft brushed by my side. At this moment, I opened my mouth. I have to see if this world is worth protecting or not. Anna Croft's expression hardened at my words. She looked between the anxious guide and me before giving a short sigh. "I hope we have a chance to talk later." She disappeared, and only I remained in the waiting room. Once left alone, I quietly organized my thoughts. I recalled the Gourmet Association constellations mentioned in Ways of Survival and thought of the constellations that could be persuaded. I didn't forget their characteristics or their modifiers. I was fortunate at the constellation banquet, but there was no guarantee it would happen again. If the Gourmet Association was expressed as a social circle, this would be my full-fledged debut. Depending on the impression I made here and what I talked about, the direction of the following scenarios would change. At this moment, the door of the waiting room opened. I thought it was a guide, but this time, an unexpected presence was waiting for me. The moment I was about to say something, the other person spoke first. "It's been a while, Kim Daksha. I've been waiting for a long time." I heard the bright tone of the true voice and realized what the other person was. Really, the queen of the underworld was too mischievous. I sighed and asked, "Why the hell do you look like that?" Chapter 238, Gourmet Association 2. Persephone laughed softly. "Why, don't you like it? The neighboring archangel told me that this is your taste." "It is an absolute misunderstanding." "HRMM." Persephone's voice sounded regretful. For reference, Persephone was currently in the form of Yu Jonghyuk. It was just fortunate that she wasn't wearing a Chinese dress. "Then how about this?" Wait, before I could finish, Persephone's appearance changed once again. I thought she would turn into Yu Sangha in a Chinese dress, but this time it was unexpected. "No, this." Persephone smiled, and I flushed, despite knowing the other person was Persephone. Persephone was in the form of the Punisher that I had seen a while ago. "I noticed that you couldn't take your eyes off her at the time. Is it like this?" The white skin was revealed through the side of the dress, and I reflexively closed my eyes while shouting, "Stop teasing." "Hoo-hoo, it is really funny." Persephone laughed like a child before once again transforming. This time, it was the appearance of Yu Sanga. She had a tidy office look instead of the Chinese dress and garter belt. I saw this appearance from the days of Mino Soft and felt complicated. Yu Sanga always spoke to me in this attire. Yu Sanga SSI, please be well. I was a bit worried that she was with Han Suyong still. It was Yu Sanga, so I believed she would be okay. Persephone kept smiling. Follow me, I came to pick you up. I nodded and followed behind Persephone. I walked out of the waiting room and felt a bit nervous at some of the gazes of the constellations. I walked with Persephone and saw the constellations. I felt like I was her young servant for some reason. Soon after, Persephone and I reached a huge elevator in the middle of the lobby. Maybe the Gourmet Association Festival would be held on the top floor of this castle. The door of the elevator that resembled a huge crystal ball was opened and Persephone and I boarded. My body felt a bit heavier, and the darkness of the dark dimension spread outside the transparent crystal wall. Beyond the horizon of the dimension, the magnificent world of the star stream was revealed. You are looking forward to it. Rather than looking forward to it, I am a bit nervous. Persephone laughed as if she understood my heart. I'm glad you are alive. Last time you were an incarnation, and now you are a constellation. I'm still a newbie. I'm not sure it is okay for me to come here. I meant to be humble by Persephone's expression, hardened at my words. What do you think my position is in the Gourmet Association? Is it hard to take in a new member? That's not what I meant. I'm just joking. Please stop making fun of me. Think of it as investing in advance, since I don't know how promising a constellation you will be in the future. It is something you will have to suffer one day. I felt it before, but I didn't know why this queen was so good to me. The only thing she asked for in exchange for taking the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint to Tartarus was to participate in this Gourmet Association festival. Maybe she knew. In fact, the condition of attending the Gourmet Association was beneficial for me, not her. She made a full-fledged debut for me as a constellation. Persephone's obsidian eyes were sparkling. How much is your status now? It can't be narrative grade. Perhaps the other constellations didn't know that I was narrative grade. I thought for a moment before replying. I will be on the second floor at the next constellation banquet. Persephone's eyes widened at my eyes. She guessed I would be great grade at most. It was quite pleasurable to see the queen of the underworld look so embarrassed. However, there was also deep concern mixed in her eyes. There will be constellations who feel jealous of you. Some constellations will try to draw you to their side. I'm expecting it. I was prepared. The constellations I would meet in the future wouldn't be easy. They might be jealous of me or trying to pull me to their side. Either way, it was dangerous. However, most of the constellations will be indifferent to you. Until now, you haven't been able to feel it because you've gone to places where the influence of the Korean Peninsula scenario is great. Don't forget, this is the Gourmet Association. The Gourmet Association. This was a grand gathering of high-ranking constellations in the star stream. Suddenly, Persephone's laughter seemed scary. I won't act as a nanny like I did at the constellation banquet. This time, I want to see you act with your own strength. The door of the elevator opened with a ding, and Persephone disappeared into the banquet hall. Left alone, I hesitated before getting out of the elevator. Some constellations show curiosity towards you. Some constellation glanced at me when I got off, but the interest soon disappeared. It was rather fortunate. It would be hard to move if excessive interest was poured towards me. Just as on the first floor lobby, there were no constellations who existed as symbolic bodies. Everyone was a humanoid or living being of this world. There wasn't a single constellation here conscious about using probability. Some of the constellations that occupied the banquet hall looked like those I read about in Ways of Survival. The first one to stand out was the man in a Viking outfit that occupied the center of the banquet hall. It would be stranger if I didn't recognize him with the giant hammer on his back. The best of the first-generation stories is naturally the dragon eating the hammer. The constellation of the nebula Asgard, Thursday's thunder was speaking in an excited voice. Then a woman replied from the other side. What do you mean? The best is obviously the children of dawn. The rating is also the highest. She was a goddess wearing a white dress embroidered with stars. If I remembered correctly, she was a constellation of the Guardian Tree Nebula, the Dawn Star Goddess. It seemed there was a controversy over which story was the best. Fighting over which story was the best. It was exactly the same as what I read in Ways of Survival. It was clear what this place was like after seeing the high-ranking constellations that were hard to see on the Korean peninsula. Even the powerful Persephone was just a normal constellation in the Gourmet Association. The constellation Demon-like Judge of Fire is cheering for you. Luckily, the sole comfort was that the channel was still functioning. Yes, I couldn't be discouraged in a place like this. I quietly approached one of the central groups in the Gourmet Association and talked to one of the surrounding constellations. X. However, no one looked at me. It was as if I didn't exist to the constellation here. I gathered my courage and tapped on the shoulder of the constellation beside me. Excuse me. This time, there was a reaction. The constellation looked at me before brushing past my shoulder and walking to the center of the hall. Kim Dokcha knew this feeling very well. I felt like I was alone in this world. Suddenly, the voices of the many constellations felt distant. They were clearly in the same place, but they were elsewhere. I understood what Persephone meant by indifference. The Gourmet Association was building their own barrier to prevent new people like me from entering. The constellation Demon-like Judge of Fire is looking at you with sad eyes. But I couldn't give up. I had to somehow create a crack. I broadened my vision and looked around the periphery of the Gourmet Association. In addition to the constellations chatting in the center of the banquet hall, there were also people standing alone. They were also members of the Gourmet Association and would certainly be powerful. The edge of the banquet hall contained numerous panels like those seen in the waiting room. They were videos of scenarios taking place all over the world. I looked closer and saw the moment I became the Demon King of Salvation displayed on a small screen in the corner. However, no constellations were watching it. The Korean Peninsula scenario that I went through was just one passing story. The panel next to it was showing a real-time broadcast of the Korean Peninsula. It seemed to be Bihyung's channel. On the screen, a good-looking girl with a bob was speaking nonsense. That jerk Kim Dokcha, I'm sure he is feeling delighted right now. I couldn't help smiling at the familiar voice. Han Soo-young wouldn't be able to talk this crap if she knew where I was right now. Are you doing well picking up the abyss stones? You have to gather it well. You will be glad when you need to use it later. Did Dr. Sasai really give this order? Of course. I felt great longing as I saw Han Soo-young and Yu Sanga on the screen. I thought I would be more depressed if I kept watching and turned to another panel. The screen contained a common, mass-produced story. The story was called Legend of the Legendary Return from Another World. It had a third-rate smell just from the title, and the contents were obviously about a returnee who saved the world and was happy still. It was worth watching. It somehow resembled Ways of Survival. The protagonist's speech was similar to Yu Jong-hyuk. I watched the story and a message emerged. Do you want to enter a star rating? Oh, it was a system that gave stars to every story. I placed my hand carefully to the star point box next to it. At this moment, someone's voice was heard. This is my favorite story. I looked back and saw an old man standing there. I responded lightly, it's an interesting story. Who is that right? This friend has good taste. In fact, it was a story that didn't fit the Gourmet Association that I knew. The Gourmet Association didn't like these mass-produced stories. The constellations of the Gourmet Association were sick and tired of it once concepts such as Ninth Circle and Sword Master came out. This Legend of the Legendary Return from Another World had both of them. Are you the contributor of this story? That's right, Keek. I show it every year. I just wanted to know one more person to know the story. It is a really nice and fun story, but I don't know how to say it. That feeling, I understand it. Somehow, I was glad. I also posted about ways of survival on every community site I went to while reading it. Most people just swore at me, but in any case, this old man was similar to me. The old man sighed and added, "These guys just scoff if I recommend it. The younger ones already have high eyes. They are busy with the first-generation stories." It was a really unexpected remark. Certainly, there was an uptight part to the Gourmet Association. The higher their position in the star stream, the stronger the tendency. At this time, the mutters of passing constellations were heard. The steady person is here again. Tusk, he has no idea about a good story because of his age. Steady person. It seemed to be a nickname for the old man by my side. I recalled that there was a constellation with a similar nickname in Ways of Survival. Get this thing off. It isn't a story and should fuck off. At this moment, the star rating attached to the legend of the legendary return from another world changed. 1.35, 1.15. The rating became lower. It was obvious who was doing it. These guys. It was the so-called Star Point Terror. The old man screamed at the disappearing constellations. I thought I understood the old man's feelings and brought a hand to the Star Point section. I don't think the story is terrible enough to get this score. There was a beep and the star point increased. The old man turned his head towards me at the sound. In fact, I'm not sure why there is a score on the stories. Every story has value. It is a story that is interesting to some people and salvation for others. The old man was startled by my words. He licked his lips a few times before murmuring with admiration. "You aren't like young constellations these days. You have a great sense of value." "It's nothing. Everyone would think like me if they endured a story like Ways of Survival." The old man's mood relaxed and he smiled at me. "You seem to be good company. What's your modifier?" I didn't have a chance to ask. Was this going to be a good story? I smiled and declared, "I am the Demon King of Salvation." Chapter 239, Gourmet Association 3. The expression of the old man changed at my words. Demon King of Salvation. It was difficult to read the exact emotions due to the old man's intricately folded wrinkles. The old man was first surprised, then angry, and finally looked admiring. To be exact, every emotion was contained in one expression. "That's right, you are Hoo-Hoo, I see." The old man seemed to know me. I didn't expect anyone in the Gourmet Association other than Persephone to know about me, yet he had a surprising awareness. "Can I ask for your modifier?" The old man gave an unknown smile, instead of answering my question. "Do you like the coat I made?" "Huh. The coat you are wearing." I reflexively looked down at my white coat. Infinite Dimension Space Coat. It was a coat I was awarded with after defeating Myung Il-seng. The name of the constellation who made this coat was Mass Production Maker. The old man laughed at my surprised tone. "I am called that." He pointed his thumb at himself, and I was slightly discouraged. The Mass Production Maker. He was mentioned in the list of constellations who had the greatest influence on the star stream scenario. It was difficult to describe his combat ability as being of the highest level, but he was in existence with a close connection with many nebulae and the Bureau. To make matters worse, I killed Myung Il-seng, who was the incarnation of the Mass Production Maker in the fifth scenario. "Hoo-Hoo, you don't have to look like that. I won't eat you." The Mass Production Maker seemed to have noticed what I was trying to say. "I know what you're thinking. Don't be alarmed. It is common in the star stream. He wasn't the type of person I was interested in anyway. He had no guts, had a weak will, and always searched for the easy way." I felt a complex amount of emotions. There was relief that the Mass Production Maker didn't care much about it, and disillusion that even a constellation like the Mass Production Maker thought of incarnations as tools. I pretended to be calm. "Thank you." "Don't thank me for that. No matter how lousy, he was still my incarnation. By the way, I saw the story you made." "My story?" Yes, you are great at leading the scenario in unexpected directions and creating a mess. Thanks to you, I haven't been bored for a while. I gave you 5 stars. I didn't know if it was praise or mockery, but I thanked him. This is your first time here. Who introduced you? The queen of the underworld. The eyes of the mass production maker shone. That old hag hoo-hoo, doing this thing through all means. Bringing a new entrant like you at a time like this. I seemed to know what he meant, but I deliberately trembled. What is happening in the Gourmet Association? They are always doing things. Rather, did that old hag abandon her new entrant to see what you could do? Tusk, in any case, she is an Olympian. Come on, I'll give you a brief introduction. Unexpectedly, things were going well. I followed behind the mass production maker and looked around. I shouldn't forget my purpose for coming here just because there were many spectacular attractions. I came to recruit constellations to help in the Demon King's salvation. Let's see, the first thing was to talk to the constellations. You know who that drunkard over there is, right? He is Thor. The vigorous and stern woman over there is Vakarine. I felt a thrill every time the mass production maker called out the name of a constellation. The real names of the constellations had the power to attract their attention. The problem was they might like it or be angry. I sometimes called out the names of constellations like Persephone, but not like this. They don't like me very much, so I can't introduce you to them. They scared just by me approaching. In fact, Thursday's Thunder and Morning Star Goddess seemed to be avoiding the mass production maker. I roughly knew the cause. Tesk, they don't know what good stories are. In any case, I felt that the reaction of the constellations was noticeably different just by moving with the mass production maker. It was also easy to enter the center of the banquet hall, which was difficult to get into before. However, now everyone would run away before I could even speak. I remembered that Asmodeus was a member of the Gourmet Association. Where is he? It looks like the main event is going to begin. The mass production maker smiled alone and grabbed my sleeve. I sat at a nearby table and the guide immediately gave me food. Eyes of the Ninth Circle Great Sage Merbatos. I took a quick look at the food before putting down my fork. Several of the surrounding constellations laughed at me. They seemed to be despising that fact that I barely touched the food and couldn't eat it. The mass production maker just ignored the gazes and chewed on the eyeballs. This has a good taste. Look, that friend is today's host. A light lit up the stage and the host appeared. The face was familiar. It was the constellation who pushed past me earlier. It was a young lady dressed in a gorgeous Gothic lace dress with a cute face. Gourmet Association members, hello, I am today's host, Euphrosyne. I heard the name and knew who she was. The goddess of joy and celebration, Euphrosyne. She was a constellation belonging to the Olympus constellation. Along with the applause, some constellations lost their dignity and screamed. Oh, Euphrosyne, over here. To be precise, it was the mass production maker next to me. Suddenly, a memory from Ways of Survival came to mind. In the original novel, there was a time when Euphrosyne emerged as the host of the Gourmet Association Festival. At the time, Yu Jonghyuk. Thank you for attending while you're so busy. Thank you for the owner of Oro Castle, immeasurable austerity for lending us this place. Maybe he killed her. There are 2 main events today. Before that, I would like to introduce a special guest. Maybe you've heard of these constellations. Today's guest is from a planet that is emerging as a hot spot recently. I had an ominous feeling as firecrackers burst in one corner of the stage. Please clap for Anna Croft, a prophet from Earth. The noisy constellations fell silent simultaneously. I saw Anna Croft climbing the stairs to the main stage. I seem to know why Anna Croft came to the Gourmet Association at this time. She truly was a woman I couldn't like. Anna Croft looked at the audience with her uniquely calm gaze and greeted her with a bright smile. It is nice to meet you, constellations of the Gourmet Association. I am Anna Croft, an incarnation of the nebula Asgard. She looked dignified, but the constellations were already frowning from the moment she opened her mouth. The Gourmet Association has really fallen. I can't believe the food is talking on the stage. The star stream is degenerating these days. This was the Gourmet Association. It was a banquet of carefully selected stories for the gourmet constellations. It was a natural story, but the fresh incarnations were the main ingredients of the story. Anna Croft came to this place knowing it. I might be lacking, but I am the host of the first event. That's why this woman was scary. I don't know what food you have prepared. Take it out now. The atmosphere heated up, and it was Euphrosyne who tried to quickly intervene. Now everyone, don't be too excited. Isn't it okay to listen to the words of the prey? Shouldn't you have some patience with your food? Euphrosyne smiled in a cheerful manner, and the agitated constellations paused for a moment. The clever Anna Croft didn't miss this gap. In recent years, the star stream is flooded with obvious stories. The provocative beginning caused the constellations to focus on her. Anna Croft continued speaking. The returnees, reincarnators, sword masters, ninth circle magicians, even the same prophets. It all starts from being stronger than others. There was a faint smile on Anna Croft's face. It is the reality of today's star stream, which is flooded with stories that are created for the sake of fleeting fun. The constellations looked impressed. It was as if they were amazed that their food was telling a story. However, Anna Croft's story was just beginning. It wasn't like this before. At the very least, the trend was different during the first-generation stories. As if possessed, the constellations waited for Anna Croft's next words. In those days, the constellations loved stories. It was because the stories were worthy. The Docubus gave a theme, and the constellations explored the form and aesthetics of it. At that time, the stories definitely reached the realm of art. Art, she was a truly scary woman. I could say this from the position of an incarnation. The constellations looked nostalgic at Anna Croft's words. Persephone could be seen among them. All of them were constellations who survived those days. Interesting. Then you have a story that can satisfy our appetite. The person speaking was a demon king leaning against a corner of the hall. Anna Croft wasn't panicked by the provocation and smiled. That's right. I am going to give you back the lost first-generation stories. The constellations' expressions changed. Everyone doubted their ears. You don't like sword masters or ninth circle magicians. You like stories with a theme of blood, sweat, tears, and effort. I came here today to present you with such a story. The constellations reacted in different ways to Anna Croft's words. Some shouted about how an incarnation was making a fool of them, while others were interested in what she was saying. There were also constellations who responded skeptically, just like the mass production maker by my side. She is telling a stupid story. The current Gourmet Association won't find such stories interesting. Isn't that right? I agree. There were certainly some great stories among the first generation, but times had changed. The constellations who already experienced stimulating stories wouldn't be touched by stories that mimicked the first generation. Still, Anna Croft couldn't be unaware of this. She was the most competent incarnation in all of Ways of Survival. I recalled the parts of Ways of Survival that were about her. In the original novel, Anna Croft never held such an event at the Gourmet Association Festival. However, there must be something similar to this. At this moment, someone grabbed my shoulder. Demon King of Salvation. Chapter 240, Gourmet Association 4. I looked back and saw a woman with a familiar face, Selena Kim. Please, please save Iris. The hand holding my shoulder was trembling. The kind and calm Selena Kim was making this expression. If this continues, Iris will die. At this moment, scenes of Ways of Survival crossed my mind. Anna, why did you do this? It didn't have to be this way. It is a necessary thing. No, it is. The incarnations don't know anything. How can you do this? This is also to save humanity. Don't forget Selena. We were thrown into a herd of predators that can eat us at any time. It didn't happen in this round. However, the original version had already been revised. In other words, it wasn't unusual for the work of another round to occur in this round. Moreover, the story of the third regression was deleted in the first revision. Selena Kim, please tell me exactly precisely what happened. Before Selena Kim could speak, the voices of the angry constellations around me were heard. How dare an incarnation! Fearsome gazes were pouring towards me and Selena Kim. Selena Kim stiffened like a stone statue and turned pale. The mass production maker raised his status in order to protect me, and sparks of probability appeared around Selena Kim. This central hall was only for constellations. For a moment, I had forgotten this was the Gourmet Association. Selena Kim shut her mouth like a frightened goldfish and was dragged away by a guide. Selena Kim was unable to rebel and stared at the stage with resentful eyes. I didn't know if the story that Selena Kim was about to tell me was the same as Ways of Survival. Only one thing was certain. The reason why Selena Kim came to me was involved with why Anna Croft was on the stage. As I looked at the stage with troubled eyes, Anna Croft continued to talk with blank eyes. The story I'm going to tell you is the Bracelet Expedition. The constellations made a fuss. The Bracelet Expedition. That's right. Are you going to parody the first-generation story, Bracelet Evil Blight? Bracelet Evil Blight. It was mentioned in the original Ways of Survival and was a story that was more of a classic than the dragon eating the hammer or Children of the Dawn Star. It was older than the first generation and was closer to the Zero generation. The Bracelet Expedition was a typical expedition story, where a group of 15 people went to burn a bracelet that was the source of a disaster. The mass production maker heard her words and muttered, "Huh, she wants to reproduce that boring story." However, Anna Croft continued speaking without being concerned about the reaction of the constellations. "I will introduce the Bracelet Expedition that will lead this story." Anna Croft clapped and a large panel appeared behind her. It was a huge panel that covered the entire wall on one side of the hall. The panel showed a vast forest where 15 incarnations were gathered. Where the hell is this place? You sure Anna is right? Everyone wake up. If we play well, we can get the highest ranked sponsors. I seemed to know what they were talking about. Looking closer, the frightened Iris was among them. That's right. This was why Selena Kim. A system message soon emerged like it had already been approved by the Docubus. The sub-scenario, Bracelet Expedition, has begun. This scenario can acquire new stories depending on the success or failure. A total of 15 incarnations will participate in the scenario. All incarnations must arrive at the volcano in the center of the hunting ground through cooperation. The expedition owns the absolute bracelet, and the scenario is only completed by throwing the bracelet into the volcano lava and destroying it. Any incarnations who complete the scenario can make a wish to the Gourmet Association. The contents were just like the novel I knew. In the first place, the story of the Bracelet Evil Blight was a homage to the novel. The scenario message continued. There are a large number of evil spirits in the hunting ground. The scenario will fail if the expedition is destroyed by the evil spirits. If the absolute bracelet isn't destroyed in the time limit, the scenario will fail. Ho, you have prepared this scenario. Interesting. Some of the constellations responded favorably. I considered it a poorly designed scenario, but there was a flavor in it that the constellations could find. It was the replay of an old story. Anna Croft's aim was to ignite the memories of the constellations of the Gourmet Association. However, it was barely enough to satisfy the constellations of the Gourmet Association. Still, something is lacking. What do you want us to do? Don't tell me it is just to watch this boring game. As you can see from the panel, there are incarnations waiting for your choice. Are we supposed to be their sponsors? Of course, you can make that choice, but it won't be much fun. That means the constellations can directly participate in this scenario and taste the freshest incarnations. Along with Anna Croft, additional scenario messages were printed. A total of 15 evil spirits will appear in the scenario. All constellations in the Gourmet Association can apply for the evil spirit role on a first-come, first-served basis. I was appalled the moment I heard the scenario message. Anna Croft was aiming at this from the beginning. It was a scenario that brought out the scent of the first generation while solving the desires of the constellations. The constellations became heated up. There was a sense of excitement different from the previous bustle. Even the mass production maker showed an interested expression. One of the constellations asked, "What do you get from this scenario?" "Nothing. I just hope that all of you will enjoy it." The shameless smile shook me. There was no way she didn't want anything. She was just trying to raise her position by saying this. The constellations of the Gourmet Association are showing favorability towards Incarnation, Anna Croft. Anna Croft's plot surpassed the cruelty of the constellations. She didn't care about what she sacrificed for her own purposes. She had stabbed Yu Jonghyuk in the back more than 10 times. "Then I'll start the scenario in 1 minute. Constellations who want to apply, please sign in the selection window." At Anna Croft's words, a selection window appeared in front of my eyes. "Would you like to participate in this scenario?" Current number of applicants, 215. At the place where a story was being made, there was an opportunity to devour the subjects of the story. The number of applicants was rapidly rising. Current number of applicants, 515. I was once again reminded of why I came here. I had to make allies for the Demon King selection. In order to do this, it was better to participate in the scenario. I would be able to become closer to them by sharing stories with other constellations. Hahasa, I will eat the artwork. It isn't expected. It might be time to admit it. I had become the constellation I hated. Current number of applicants, 915. Then I heard a bot sound in my ears and a small panel popped up. It was BU's screen that only I could see. I will start the 857th competition. It showed Yu Jonghyuk attending the martial arts competition. Perhaps he had become much stronger in the meantime because Yu Jonghyuk was continuously beating his opponents with the least movements possible. I stared at his calm movements and thought as usual. What would Yu Jonghyuk do? At this moment I seemed to meet Yu Jonghyuk's eyes. Of course, Yu Jonghyuk wouldn't know that I was watching. Even so, Yu Jonghyuk seemed to talk to me. No matter how many times I return, my choice is the same. No, maybe he already told me. In fact, I saw him make the same choice many times. I will kill all of you, not leaving a single one. So far, I had always made a different choice from Yu Jonghyuk. I was Yu Jonghyuk. Amidst the strong backlash, I always walked on a different path. Persephone was watching me from afar. She was waiting for something interesting to happen. The constellation who lived for a long time knew where the really interesting stories would start. Thus, she understood what I was going to do from now on. Current number of applicants, 1415. I raised my hand towards the selection window. Iris Vladimirovna Rybizova was born in Moscow. She grew up listening to stories of revolution. Her favorite revolutionaries were Che Guevara and the early Karl Marx. However, the world she was born in wasn't the era of revolution. It was a world dominated by desire and capital and determined by the owners of the capital. Iris realized from a young age that there was no revolution in this era. This was until the Dakibus showed up. Haha, this is an interesting place, a world in which plant fibers are king. Iris saw the collapse of many nations and realized that the revolution she had been waiting for had begun. The world, which had been a place of the haves and have-nots, once again melted back into turbulent currents. The revolution could happen. The world could be changed. The young Iris was convinced of this, at least until today. Alyek, help me please. The upper body of an incarnation was completely separated. It is very fresh meat. The incarnations were torn apart by big teeth. The evil spirits wiped the stories flowing from their lips and chuckled. I'm disappointed. Is this the story you wanted me to eat? Hasty friend, please wait. The scenario has just begun. How am I supposed to wait? This is a parody story. Adolf. Her frightened companions urinated before the colossal status. It was the first time she thought that the word revolution was so empty. She couldn't resist. No one could stand up to such things. Iris, run away, run. Iris had the cries of her colleagues and ran. The twin ponytails she was proud of were messed up by blood and sweat, but she didn't care. At the same time, she had the screams of her colleagues scattered through the woods. The footsteps of the evil spirits were coming closer. It was obvious what would happen to her. Run away, damn, where could she escape to? In this small stage, where could she flee? A vast array of trees surrounded her. No matter where she ran, she couldn't leave this stage. Iris cursed something that was capital for the first time. She cursed the constellations. She cursed the star stream. She cursed this story. Nevertheless, she still begged, please someone change this story. Even a very small salvation was okay, please, please. The constellation, Demon King of Salvation, is looking at you. To her surprise, Salvation faced her. The constellation, Demon King of Salvation, wants to establish a sponsor contract with you.